Hi loves! I'm coming to you with this video today because in light of the coronavirus pandemic, I've been reflecting and thinking a lot about what all I have gone through, some of which is the reason why I stopped making YouTube videos for years. And I'm thinking about this especially in terms of those people that are in homes in which they are unsafe, or those persons that don't have a home or place to go in a time when we, as I guess globally, are engaged in acts of social distancing and quarantined. I currently am a librarian and an educator at a college here in Colorado, and so for many students, this has meant requiring that they go home or that they go to a place of residence that is not on our campus anymore. And so for a variety of students or people in various subject positions, that's oftentimes much more complicated than it might seem initially. And so I've really been wrestling with this notion of, had this pandemic occurred years ago at another stage in my life in which I was basically living in a state of terror and fear, it would have been very difficult for me. And so the goal of this video is to impart some sense of hope and understanding, and just to share a little bit more of my testimony or story. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I was living in Washington, D.C. I was a PhD candidate in an English literature program. So I was, I think, just had finished my coursework in a PhD program. I was in a relationship that eventually led to a marriage. And so that relationship, however, became very unhealthy and toxic. And so it was fraught with a lot of insecurities, a lot of mental and sometimes physical abuse in ways that made me very fearful, made me feel very small and afraid to engage in the type of personality that I typically have. And so I ended up, for reasons also related to my mental health, leaving my PhD program, feeling like it wasn't a safe or positive environment for me. I didn't understand or really have the tools at the time to be able to succeed in a way that felt good to me. And so I left that program. I eventually, due to being unsafe, I'll say it that way, because I don't want this video to be in any way negative, if that makes sense. So I was separated. I sought a separation. I packed all the things that I could in my car with my mother, and I drove from Washington, D.C. back home to my hometown of St. Louis. And I quit all of my jobs, and I lived in my mother's house, which for me was very... I'm a very prideful, I think, and ambitious and diligent and focused person. So for me, I viewed that as a failure. To have left college and gone to Howard University in Washington, D.C., to have a level of independence, to be able to provide for myself and take care of myself and be pursuing one of the highest levels of education, to have to go back home and live with my mom felt like ultimate failure. And I was already feeling vulnerable, very insecure, very distraught at the fact that I had failed what I felt like, failed myself in terms of my education, failed myself in terms of my relationship or marriage. And so it was very hard for me. And I say that because I was recently with a colleague and friend, and they were telling me about their sister who is currently living with her boyfriend, and due to the social distancing or the quarantine aspect that's taking place across the nation, really, and the globe, she felt unsafe. And so if people are being asked to work from home or stay at home, that's many people, that is not a safe space. or for many people that subjects them to certain things that are not healthy or positive also, in addition to refraining from going outside and continuing to transmit this virus. So I lived with my mom for a few years. I worked at a local public library in St. Louis. I did storytelling. I worked with children. I became really involved in the social justice aspects of librarianship. And then I went to live with my father. So I moved out of my mom's house. I got another job, a better job at a different library, and moved in with my father and my stepmother. And so here I was again, living with my other parent, working, and from his home, I eventually went back to school. So I enrolled in a Master's of Library and Information Science program, which I did for the most part online. So I worked full-time, went to school full-time, and lived with my father. And then I eventually moved to Chicago and started working at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago as a librarian. And I've been working in librarianship and education ever since. So I've been able to kind of piecemeal this identity of educator, a person that's very involved and interested in literacy, to create this kind of hybrid job that I do now. So now I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I work at a college here, and I've been writing. What has really helped me to heal, I think, and to create beauty out of adversity or some of the traumas that I've endured, and I know others have and will continue to face, is through writing, and more specifically, or most recently, my latest book, which is poetry. And so I'm going to record another video that's me reading a couple poems for you all. I just didn't have, I guess, the energy to come on screen and to suggest that I was, happy and vivacious and bubbly if that's not the state that I was in. And also in my marriage, success or positive feedback and comments from my subscribers, or people publicly acknowledging me as being great or a bright light or beautiful or having nice hair. Those were things that subjected me to scrutiny and subjected me to verbal taunts and abuse. And so I first had to make sure that I was safe and that I was taken care of and in a place where I was okay. And then, to be honest with you all, the positive feedback, I don't even call it success. I think just the support or positive feedback that I was receiving on YouTube was a source of torment for me in my marriage. And so I've tried to get to a place where I don't find this as triggering, or where I have a level of security and self-esteem to where I know and can understand that my light shining bright does not necessarily mean that other people's light is diminished, or that people close to me in my life, whether that be family, friends, romantic partner, etc., that if they can't celebrate my light and my greatness, then obviously they're not in my best interest. And I think I can make more videos about, I guess, domestic abuse if people are interested, or I don't know, just how you can get to a place in certain chapters of your life where you reach a particular low, and the energy or the ability to see through that is just not at that moment present. But I will state that I've missed building and having a YouTube community in the way that I had before. I'm not a technologically savvy person, and so it's really actually difficult for me to figure out how to film videos and edit them. And I'm also somewhat of a perfectionist, and if I can't have the best quality video or all the editing doodads or X, Y, and Z, I think I'm really hard on myself, and it's easier to just not make a video at all or post it. So I hope that is okay. I hope I really have always appreciated the way that people extend me grace on this particular platform, and just want to see reflections of themselves in the world. So that's all I'm going to share, I think, right now without being, I don't want to be overly emotional or overly, it's also very hard to, I'm somewhat of a private person, so to share more private aspects of my life and then not know how people are going to respond or what their comments are going to be, etc. So I was trying to be less ambiguous this time and just kind of explain that I'm a bit more settled now. I live in Colorado Springs. I was just in a bad situation. So for those out there that are going through divorce during this period, that are seeking separation, that are in an environment in which they're not safe, for those that are not having access to reproductive health or to things that would make them safe in terms of reproductive rights, for those that are struggling with their sexuality, with their desire, with finding who they are. I mean, those are things I can certainly make more videos about later. Or for those that are look, we love you for hair. Like, talk about hair, tell us about hair. But I'll just say that was also used against me in a way that was like, people only like you because of your hair, or people are only interested in hearing what you have to say because of how long your hair is, or it was used as a tool to tear me down or to make me feel less than, or to make me question my gifts or what I want to share with people. And I needed to take a break to assess me and then come back to you from that place. So I'm going to make another video where I'm reading some poems, but I will show you like a finished product, which is in April of 2019. My first book was released with Copper Canyon Press, and it's called Library of Small Catastrophes by Allison C. Rollins. And so this book is available bookstores, public libraries, Amazon. Support small local business and bookstores if you can, especially during these times. But this is what I was doing. I was writing. I have some other book projects in the works, and so I've been writing, and if you all see so fit, you can certainly support me. But I'm sending you all of the love and light in my heart possible. And if you want to reach out, if you want to comment below, if you're able to donate money to organizations, to resources that are helping support marginalized persons that are probably particularly struggling during this time, please do so. As always, I love you all, and I'll see you next time.